Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the One Bitcoin Show. Today is January the 22nd, 2019. Strong hand, long-term thinking, unconfiscatable, offended by selling, holder of last resort. Someone in the chat said Adam is the rock. No, Bitcoin is the rock. Okay. Pound that like button, people, if you like all my crazy sayings. And if you got a strong hand, you don't need a reminder. You don't need the daily dose of strong hand, do you? Well, maybe you do. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Glad to see you all. All right. So check out the links below. Everything I talk about this video is linked to below. Follow me at TechBalt on Twitter, TechBalt, and Bitcoin Meister on Steemit. And get shirts like this and discount codes. And there's all sorts of stuff in the notes section below. I got to be honest with you people. Like, I wrote most of this stuff in the notes section below like over a year ago. I don't even know what's on there anymore, to tell you the truth. It really needs some updating. But I update it every day with all the pertinent links, but some of the stuff that's down there, man, it's been sitting there for like 1.5 years. I don't even know what it is. But my email address is hidden down there too. So you got to read the whole thing to figure out what my email address is. All right. So there's certain things I have time for, there's certain things I don't have time for. Update, getting fancy sets and graphics, no time for that. Updating most of the notes section below, not that much time for that. I want to say, though, I do read Twitter, and Whale Panda, every day I'm reading Twitter, learning so much. Whale Panda is a great dude to follow. He's linked to below. Bitcoin took off because it was uncensorable money with a predictable monetary policy. Ethereum took off because it was marketed as a decentralized and uncensorable world computer, able to fix things ranging from a refugee crisis to a dentist appointment. Bitcoin is still on the right path. Keep it simple, baby. I like that, Whale Panda. Yes, Bitcoin took off because it was uncensorable money with a predictable monetary policy. And it is still that. It's still on that path. 21 million Bitcoin halving 2020. Oh, yeah. Okay. Next. Oh, speaking of halvings. Well, one thing, I'm going to have a new policy here on this show. If you ask a question before the show goes live, I might answer it in the middle of the show just to like test my skills of answering random questions. So there's some incentive to be in the chat before the show starts. I did that yesterday with the BHEX question. And today someone mentioned something. I think I'll bring it up later. But let's talk about the Litecoin halving for now. Litecoin halving, I lived through the Litecoin halving in 2015, okay? And we're about to have it again. It's probably going to be August the 8th, 2019. And by the way, on August the 8th, 2008, I mentioned this before, 888, I was barfing so much because I got so drunk. It was the first night of the Olympics in China. I went to like 2 different parties. Oh, that's for the Beyond Bitcoin show. Back to this show. So, but on this year, and don't drink. But that was when I valued my wealth in something else. That was before Bitcoin. 888 was before Bitcoin, way before Bitcoin. But yeah, so this year it's going to be on 8819, apparently, the Litecoin halving. And when I lived through it before in 2015, and I was sober, of course, during the whole thing, I remember that it wasn't that big of a deal. And people were really hoping it was going to be like a huge deal. And actually the price of Litecoin in terms of Bitcoin did go up for a bit, but it went down again. And then eventually it went back up again by a lot when Bitcoin went back up a lot. Did people all of a sudden start talking about the Bitcoin halving when the Litecoin halving happened in the summer of 2015? No, not at all. No, because because months went by, then like March of 2016 came by and people were talking about the Bitcoin halving then. Now people are going to say, well, more people know about Litecoin this time. And that is true. More people do know about Litecoin this time. No, the Litecoin halving will pass again. Maybe the price of Litecoin will go up some. I don't know. I don't really care. But it's not going to affect Bitcoin. It isn't going to be this miraculous thing like people are going to be like, yeah, Litecoin halving, and now it's only 9 months till the Bitcoin halving. No, people will just be like, yeah, I hope my Litecoin goes up in value so I can flip it after this Litecoin halving. It'll have nothing to do with Bitcoin. It's not going to affect Bitcoin. Okay. Now, I am interested to see what the Bcash halving is going to do, if that's going to have an effect on Bitcoin, if that'll start some talk off, because I haven't lived through a Bcash halving yet, obviously, or a BSV halving. Oh, good. Oh, is there one? I don't know. But no, there is. There should be. But yeah, this Litecoin halving thing last time didn't do much for Bitcoin. Didn't really do that much for Litecoin either. For the long term. Because you got to remember, the Bitcoin halving, once after the Bitcoin, first of all, leading up to the Bitcoin halving, it got that finally back to like 700, and then it was around 600. But since the Bitcoin halving, Bitcoin has never returned to those prices. Never, since a few months after it, it hasn't returned to that realm. Litecoin has returned to the same realm in terms of Bitcoin that it was in around. And it's gone below that. It's Litecoin halving price. So that the Litecoin halving is not a cure-all for Litecoin. It is not. And nor does it mean anything for Bitcoin. And that's my point. That's my point. So, I mean, no, I'm not psyched about the Litecoin halving. I don't really care that much about it. And I think it's going to be blown out of proportion by the people who know about crypto, actually. The people who are in the space, who are involved in altcoins, unfortunately, they're going to think it's a big thing, but it's not that big of a thing. The big thing, the big shebang, the big pound that like button is the actual Bitcoin halving. That is the real thing. You can't beat the real thing. Litecoin halving is just a cheap imitation. And hey, if it wakes a couple people up to the Bitcoin halving, that would be great. And it probably will. But no, the media isn't going to jump onto it yet and say, oh, this is a prelude to the Bitcoin halving. In fact, if the Litecoin halving is as uneventful as last time, some people might just be like, once the Bitcoin halving comes around, they might try to FUD it. And by the way, when the Bitcoin halving does come around, when people start talking about it in January of 2020, some people will try to FUD, but then some people will get excited about it. And the people getting excited will be louder than the people fudding it. But then there'll be people like, well, the Litecoin, some people will try to point to the Litecoin halving like, well, Litecoin halving wasn't that big of a deal, so clearly the Bitcoin halving won't be that big of a deal. Ah, contraire, mon frere. You'll have to go back to 2016 and you'll see that the Bitcoin halving was a big deal then, and it will be a big deal in 2020. Now, again, is it going to be like a miraculous moment that day in 2020? No, it's just the price will probably go down a little bit. It might go up a little bit. But after that, when people are really seeing that the supply is getting cut, again, what happened at the beginning of 2017? We should see a similar thing at the beginning of 2021. It's all, when I say Bitcoin halving, I'm talking about a whole era here, okay? From the point when they start hyping it up around January, having hype, and that was something I talked about last time in 2016, having hype. They're all talking about it again. And then to the ramp up after the halving, leading into the glorious 2021. And maybe the glory will happen even sooner in late 2020. Who knows? Again, value your wealth in Bitcoin. You don't even care. I mean, you do care because there's going to be less Bitcoin around. But this is, I'm talking about fiat here when I'm talking about doubling and all this stuff, referring to last time. But when I'm talking about Litecoin price not being too much different than it was around the halving, I'm talking about it being in terms of Bitcoin. Because again, you got to value your wealth in Bitcoin when it comes to these altcoins. Don't get distracted, because again, there's going to be people that are like, well, wait a second, around the Litecoin halving in 2015, it was worth like $5, and now it's worth 26 bucks or whatever. No. You value your wealth in Bitcoin. Okay, so enough about that. I think you got my point. But yet people will ask me still about the Litecoin halving, and there are going to be people hyping it up. But dudes, you can't beat the real thing. So, and that's the Bitcoin halving. So there's a theory out that Nima was on my show a couple weeks ago. He's great. He's got some great tweets out there talking about how he purchased his first Bitcoin from local Bitcoins when there was no KYC back in 2013. And the theory is like the harder it is to get your first Bitcoin, the less distractions from altcoins like on Coinbase, which does the Coinbase bundle, the stronger your hand will be. But like I can see now, if you buy on Coinbase, it's pretty easy. And then you're like, well, wait, I'm going to diversify for the sake of diversification. And I'm going to do this bundle thing. And those are distractions. And those are going to weaken your hand. And those are going to be like saying, well, I got some more Bitcoin here. Maybe I should buy some more altcoins with this Bitcoin because Coinbase, you know, they sell bundles of altcoins. So here we go. Here are the tweets. And so maybe you give your opinion. Is it the harder the first purchase, the stronger your hand is, or the faster you get a stronger hand? If you buy from Coinbase, are some people destined for weaker hands to learn the lesson the hard way? Here we go. Two tweets by Nima. First ever Bitcoin purchase was on local Bitcoins in 2013 and was equally sketchy in London, so not as exciting as a back alley in Casablanca. I have a feeling this early experiences, I have a feeling this early experience forges strong hands, though. The road from first Bitcoin buy to steel-handed holder on Coinbase is long and fraught with illusions of being a trader and altcoin pumps galore. Local Bitcoins short circuits that journey, and you avoid the swamp of altcoins too. So these are interesting theories. These are interesting points. Are you the harder the purchase? If you get a buy from some back alley in Baltimore City, are you more likely to like not become a Bitcoin trader into altcoin land, into fifth tier altcoins? I think he's got a point there. All right. So let's talk about another guy who's been on this show before, Russ Spears. And Russ hasn't been on the show for a while. Again, he's in the United States, so maybe I'll try to get him on this week. Oh, yeah, I was going to send him. I'll send him a message after the show. Russ says, Bitcoin has never been overbought. It was always underappreciated. Pound that like button. And he got into a whole thread about that. Yeah, I think, no, it's never been overbought. No. It has been underappreciated. It still is underappreciated. The 80%ers are always going to underappreciate it, dude. Let it be underappreciated. Let it be underappreciated. If you understand that's underappreciated, then get in now until and before people really start to appreciate it, before the institutions appreciate it. Okay, now here's another thing that Russ might like, and this is a little off topic. I was watching the Sandman's channel, and he got a guy wrote a guy in Maine wrote him a letter, wrote him an email saying that he's in a bad divorce situation, and this guy unfortunately has had a heart attack and a stroke, and he might end up in jail because his ex-wife is trying to extract a lot of money from him and is forcing him to get a life insurance policy. A $500,000 life insurance policy. I might be butchering. And the guy has just had a heart attack and a stroke. Who's going to give the guy a life insurance policy? I mean, anyway, I linked to the situation below. And the reason I'm bringing this up on this show, and I'm going to bring this up on Saturday's show also from another perspective. But guys, you know what? You go to this guy's link and then watch the video from the I think it's the Maine Supreme Court, okay? And these judges are like yelling at this dude's lawyer, okay? You could tell this guy is in trouble, okay? And I give links below to different Twitter accounts that we should tweet out to, and I'm glad Vention is in here too, because I emailed you, or I sent you a YouTube message about this dude, and hopefully you'll talk about this guy. I have listed some Twitter accounts that you can tweet out to. Their Maine, the Supreme Court of Maine, or the court system of Maine, and some media outlets in Maine. But I'm bringing it up in this show because this guy looks like he's in deep, okay? And if I were him, and despite having a heart condition and has had a stroke, and just listening to the judges yell at his lawyer, he's going to end up in jail. I mean, it looks like he's going to end up in jail. I don't want this guy to end up in jail. And this is why you must have Bitcoin. First of all, his greedy ex-wife wouldn't be able to take his Bitcoin. And by this point, he would have been able to leave the country with his Bitcoin and just start a new life. From what I could tell, this guy should not stick around in the United States too much longer. And he's not, and he's going to be for it. He's going to, though, because he doesn't have Bitcoin. He has nothing now because the wife has already taken everything from him. And the judges keep on saying like, no, apparently you have more. They're alluding to the fact that other judges didn't like him, that he must be hiding something. I mean, this is ridiculous. The wife already has the guy's kids. The wife has already had false accusations about the guy. And now, because he won't buy a life insurance policy, even though he's dying, he can't, he's going to end up in jail. So this is a reminder to everyone. It can get so nasty out there. You don't want to be in that position that this guy is in. You want to already have your Bitcoin and already be in some other country. Okay. Long before and this guy's in Maine. It's cold. I mean, oh God, it must be terrible there now. So yeah, check out that link below. And I will actually talk about this a lot more on my Saturday show, and hopefully Vention will talk about it on his one of his shows coming up. Maybe I don't know. And who knows? I mean, I don't know how nice of a dude this dude is or whatever. I'm just hearing those judges yell at his lawyer. Just like, oh man, this is a case for Bitcoin. This is a case where you should have been in, you shouldn't have had any assets, or in short, your only insurance policy should have been Bitcoin. That should have been your life insurance policy for your life. So you could have gotten out of this situation before you got into this horrible situation this guy is in. Shame on this woman. Shame on this woman for doing this to a guy. I mean, it sounds horrible. It sounds absolutely brutally horrible. But again, personal responsibility is a new counterculture. Don't get yourself into these situations. Learn from this. Learn from this. And the end of the day, the guy did. He got into a path. He got into this situation. It's very, very unfortunate. And it's not fun and games out there in the land of marriage. It isn't. There's some nasty people out there, and some lawyers that want some money. And some judges who just don't get it, I guess. Who don't care. And again, they're not being pressured. So again, I'll tweet some of this stuff out to those social media people that I've linked to below. All right. First of all, in the super chat, somebody sent me something here. Guy Bennett sent $5. Do you know what the longest sentence in the English language? The longest sentence in the English language. I love this. I do. Yeah, that does get you the longest sentence, doesn't it? Thank you, Guy Bennett, for the $5. Hey, and dude, just be careful, people. Be careful out there. All right, and anyone can have their opinions about marriage or whatever you want to. But my whole point of bringing this up is Bitcoin as an insurance policy. Bitcoin, you don't need Bitcoin until you really need it. This dude needs it. All right, so in most first world situations, we don't need it. Yeah, we can get a credit card, we can buy this, we can buy that. But when you've been totally divorced, I can't use that word, the divorce-ard, you need it. you should have had it already. It's too late for this dude in terms of getting Bitcoin. Maybe hopefully he's not going to end up in jail in Maine. All right. So yesterday I shouldn't have pushed that button. Yesterday, I spoke of BHEX, a crypto dividend called BHEX, which is an airdrop that's coming up. Good luck to them. I'll speak about another Bitcoin crypto dividend, Brhodium, which was also an airdrop. They are now listed on P2P, B2B.io. So you can figure out how much it's worth now. You can sell it. You can whatever. You can look at it. It was on some Turkish exchange. You couldn't figure out anything on the Turkish exchange. This exchange is a little bit more, it's better known, this exchange. So there you go. It's linked to below if you want to check out that, see how much your free BTR was worth that you signed up for like a year ago or whatever. And you can do what you want with your Brhodium. Finally, okay. So at the beginning, I don't remember the exact. It wasn't a question, but on the chat before the show started, a great viewer brought up. He said, "This dude said that," and I'm not going to say the dude's name. He said that Bitcoin, once Bitcoin hits its low in terms of fiat, it'll quickly go up to $100,000. Again, and so it's clickbait. It's total clickbait stuff. They FUD you and say it's going to go down to 1,000. Then they say, but then soon it'll be 100,000. I don't need to say. I just don't. I don't respect the people who do that. And this guy is known because he was associated with a hot woman, and the hot woman was given the opportunity because someone values his wealth in women. And he was white knighting for her, and put her. And then all these guys, they're like, of course they're going to watch the hot woman. There's so many people who fall into this trap of this, like, ooh, hot woman on the show, got to watch it. And it's just a shame that the person who gave the hot woman the break because he thought he was going to get from her, or hoped, and was just totally white knighting, because he's a good guy. The guy who gave the woman the chance, and she was probably a smart woman. Again, I haven't watched the dude's show since. I haven't watched Tone's show since the woman's been on it. But the other guy that has, I guess because Tone gave the hot woman a chance, the other guy is well known too. But Tone had to give him a chance too, because in order to white knight for the woman and everything. So that dude is like, he screams one low number, now he's saying a high number. Dudes, what's the point? Don't trade. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's all about this trading stuff. Follow my magical line here. You see, it's going to hit 1,000. It's going to hit 100,000. So you've got to sell it all now and buy it all then and pay all these taxes that I'm not telling you about or whatever. It's not worth it. It's definitely not worth it. Bitcoin's going to be worth a lot more in fiat one of these days. That's what you got to believe. I mean, do you believe it? If you believe it, then you got a strong hand. You just hold on to it. And you don't worry about when it's going to be 100,000, or that someone's saying it's going to be 100,000 after it's going to be 1,000, and thus it's legitimate now. Thus it's going to be, someone said the magic numbers, thus I feel good about it. No, you shouldn't need to feel good about it just because some dude who looks like he's smart or whatever, who's got a hot friend, says that it's going to be a certain number. And if you need that kind of encouragement, if you need that kind of reassurance, then you're gonna mess up eventually, dudes. You're gonna mess up, seriously. You got to believe it for yourself. You got to believe it for yourself. You got into this thing because you think it's going to change the world, not because a hot girl told you got into it, or because somebody with a magical chart with a magical name that says 1,000 and 100,000 and mentions big numbers that make you feel happy about yourself, and that scares you when they say small numbers that makes you sell, and then doesn't remind you about Mr. IRS. Look, what was I just talking about beforehand? I was talking about the government in the state of Maine. This is the thing. When you enter into certain contracts, you don't realize that you're entering into an agreement with the government also. Look what can happen when you enter into agreements with the government. When you sell that Bitcoin on Coinbase or whatever, you're into an agreement with the government. You owe them some major freaking taxes. And it's not a funny thing at that point. It's not a joke. It's not just $1,000 or $100,000 or whatever and follow my little line. It's a serious matter at that point. And a lot of you people who think you're traders, you forget that. And Coinbase shouldn't give my social security number away. They did. It's too late. They know. The government knows what you got. Okay. So again, if you feel good about Bitcoin because of a magical chart that says 100,000 when it's 1,000 or whatever, then you're going to mess up eventually. I promise you. You're going to get a weak hand, and you probably already weak handed it, and you better be paying the IRS that money when you weak hand it too, because they'll make an example out of someone. Don't worry. You'll end up like Mr. Maine, with your heart attack and your you'll end up just like that guy from Maine. Heart attack, stroke, and no Bitcoin. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. No way out. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video, check out the link section below, pound that like button, strong hand, and click on those squares and bang that bell button. All right, I'll see you guys later. And yeah, don't put that on a pedestal, okay, dudes? Don't put it on. Value your wealth in Bitcoin. Again, if you're watching videos to see pretty women, you're going to lose your Bitcoin too. Trust me, dudes. You're going to lose it one way or the other.